Okay, so this one weirded me out the most. D. Snyder, Daniel D. Snyder, which I actually never knew his first name was Daniel, but then again, I never took the time to figure it out. And oh, look, he's a Booma. Okay, Booma, you make your banging music. Anyway, this, oh my God, this Mandela effect stems from a conversation that I was having with a friend a very long time ago. Probably almost a year, well, maybe not a year ago, but anyway, this is how long it's taken me to get to this. So we were talking about D. Snyder, and then I started looking D. Snyder up on my phone just to get some images of him. And I stopped my friend from talking, and he's also a Mandela Effect believer too. And I'm like, wait a second. Have you looked at the spelling of D. Snyder's last name? And he's like, no. And then he looks at it, and he's like, oh my God, I am so surprised I didn't see that. And so, what is the change in the spelling of the last name of D. Snyder? Snyder. Now, I always remember it as Snyder, but I don't know, and it was really, really strange. And not only does it look wrong on D. Snyder, but I went to a performing arts camp with his niece named Mora. Now, her name was not Maura West when I knew her. As of today, she is a soap opera actress. I've gone to a press junket or two where she was, but I absolutely never got to talk with her and interview her there because it was too crowded to sort of rehash our old summer theater days. But anyway, so she was allegedly Dee Snider's niece. And, you know, I mean, when you think about show business and family and nepotism and how if you're related to a celebrity, oftentimes you have a better chance of becoming a celebrity yourself. Well, here it is. And if you look, like, her coloring is also quite similar to his. Now, obviously, they both kind of have some dye jobs going on, but hey, the skin tone and their dye job looks very, very similar to one another. So anyway, where I'm going with this is that when I knew her in summer theater camp, her name was not Maura West. And I never heard it initially directly from her that she was Dee Snider's niece, but everybody in our summer theater camp would say it. And Maura wasn't very, she wasn't very loud. She wasn't very braggadocious. I had no reason to believe she told tall tales, and nobody ever told me she told tall tales. But one day, I asked her about it, and she said yes. And other than that, she really never talked about it. So it was never a thing that she trounced around and made real public or anything like that, but it was just sort of a thing. So where I'm double going with this is that her name, when I knew her in summer theater camp, was Maura Jo, and her last name was Maura Jo Snyder, Snyder. Not to be confused with Schneider from One Day at a Time. Hey, it's Schneider. But in any case, it was just it was just so weird because that was the first thing I did when I figured out that Dee Snyder spelled his name with an I. I was like, oh my God, did I totally misremember Maura Jo's last name? Or did she always spell it this way? And she always did. And again, like I said, I couldn't find anything online that discussed Dee Snyder changing his last name at all, and why would he change it by one letter unless it's some kind of numerological thing where an I in Pythagorean numerology is a number 9, and a Y in Pythagorean numerology it's number 8. Or yeah, it's number 8, I think. But in any case, I haven't done Pythagorean numerology in quite some time. But yeah, so that was just so weird to me, and I want to know what you guys remember. Did you remember Dee Snyder spelling his name Snyder or Snider? Because Snider looks so wrong to me. And it's kind of funny because around the same time that I was doing summer theater with Maura Jo, the year before, I was doing summer theater with this girl named Stephanie, who maybe was kind of a tall tale teller, but she said that she had babysat for this woman and her bratty son, and the woman would sing "We're Not Gonna Take It" in this concert choir voice, like this, "We're not going to take it, no, we ain't going to take it, we're not going to take it anymore." And then she told this story about this bratty kid, playing with his truck, and his truck was all fucked up, and it had this wire coming out of it that was a little bit thicker than a paperclip, and I guess he'd crashed it into too many things because he was angry. So one day he got really mad at her, and he threw it at her, and it hit her in the leg, but it didn't just hit her in the leg, it impaled her in the leg on that like really thin, skinny little wire. And like she just looked up at him and she said, "You're so dead." And the kid started screaming, and then the mom came home, and then the mom drove her home. I guess they got the truck out of her leg, or they took her to the doctor, or maybe this was another day. But the mom came home, and the mom was sitting in traffic, and she was trying to drive my friend Stephanie home, and the mom got so annoyed, she like went up on the sidewalk, and she's like, "I don't have to take this anymore," and she ran the car up on the sidewalk, and she tried to drive on the sidewalk, and then I guess she probably got stopped by the cops. But anyway, Stephanie might have been telling tall tales, but those were some funny ass stories that she would tell about that woman and her son. The other story related to either Twisted Sister or Dee Snyder had to do with my high school days, when I went to this Halloween party and we played this game where we would write the name of a character that we wanted to give a person on their back, and then the person would have to ask us questions about what character they were. And so I made this kid named Ian McKenna Thomas. I made him Dee Snyder, and this kid was like so conservative and so clean cut, and he was like the most absolutely un-Dee Snyder-esque type kid you could ever imagine. And like the whole party I was cracking up. I was like, I just made Ian Dee Snyder. And I couldn't stop cracking up. But the kid reminded me kind of like a Michael J. Fox type, and a combination of like Michael J. Fox in Family Ties and Mike Myers. Oh, they're both Michaels. Mike Myers, the Saturday Night Live character, like, "Hi, I'm a really good looking guy," with a really toothy smile, because he did have a really toothy smile. Like Ian McKenna Thomas was comically good looking, I would say. And if I could show you any other visual, it's this one, which cracks me up even more. It's this like 1942 military guy, and I always imagine him. I've been posting this since like the early 2000s, and I always imagine this guy with like one of those 1940s radio announcer voices, like, "Hey, how about a nice big cup of shut the fuck up? Going into Saturday night, and we're shutting things up with our fucking cups all night long." So anyway, yeah, those are my Dee Snyder adjacent stories, and a personal anecdote, and a misspelling in real time, in real life, the likes of which I cannot for the life of me figure the fuck out. But he's a boomer. Maybe Dee Snyder knows, because he's older than us, and he's a boomer, and he could tell us if we ever asked him.